Selamat malam semuanya. Terima kasih sudah bergabung di acara Taster Lecture dari University of Warwick. Saya perkenalkan di sini, mungkin akan melihat di screen ya. Ada Bapak Imran Hashim, perwakilan atau staff dari I.O.-nya Warwick yang based di Singapura. Kita ada Profesor J, kemudian ada Katie, dan ada Associate Professor Mairi. Acara ini akan dimulai langsung, jadi tanpa berpanjang-panjang lagi, untuk semua teman-teman, mohon audionya bisa di-mute, dan kita akan mulai mendengarkan taster lecture serta berbagai informasi dari University of Warwick. Pak Imran, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Hendra, and the IBEC team for organizing this event. My name is Imran, and I am the Warwick Liaison Manager for Southeast Asia. And my job is basically to help all the Indonesian students, those who are interested to come to Warwick to study. My job is to help you achieve your dream. Right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a very, very quick presentation on the University of Warwick, just a very quick overview. And I am going to start sharing my screen now before I hand over to the stars of the show, the academics of WMG and Kathy from WMG. Okay, now let me start sharing my screen. All right, so as I said, I would like to share with you a very quick overview of Warwick in 5 minutes, right? So the University of Warwick, the first thing you need to know is, where are we located? We're located in the city called Coventry, which is only 20 minutes away from Birmingham by train, and more importantly, only 1 hour away from London by train, right? So if you wish to study Warwick, you need to know that we're located in the city of Coventry, so close to the 2 biggest cities in the UK. So what does this mean? It means that if you want to spend time in London, it is very easy. You just take maybe the bus to go to the train station. You hop on a train, within 1 hour, you'll be in London, right? So it's even faster to get to London from Coventry than going to Bogor from Jakarta Central. All right, so it's very convenient. Now, the other thing that you should know about the University of Warwick is that we are a medium-sized university, about 26,000 students, with 60 plus students from Indonesia, roughly about 60 Indonesians every year coming to study at our university, right? Now, in terms of our global and UK reputation, you should know that we are a top 10 UK university with many subjects in the top 5, such as business, economics, education, engineering, mathematics, politics, and sociology. So not only from the arts, but also from the social sciences and the sciences, we've got top 5 subjects. And then, of course, a lot more within the top 10 in the UK. Now, in terms of our ranking in the world, we are number 62 according to the latest QS World University Rankings, and number 77 in terms of the Times Higher Education University Rankings. So definitely, when you come to Warwick, you are coming to a university with a very solid reputation for teaching and research. Okay, the Warwick story. Don't worry, this is not what Warwick looks like now. This was back in 1965 when the university was first started. So that was maybe about 50 plus years ago, but with continuous investment in excellence, establishing close links with industry, we have grown so much and we have evolved into a campus that looks like this today, right? So this is what campus looks like now. In terms of, like, if you see near the bottom of the screen, the brown buildings, those are some of the accommodations that we have. And when you look at the white buildings in the foreground, sorry, in the background, that is Central Campus. So everything is actually within walking distance, and you'll be able to find everything that you need on campus. So It's very convenient if you live on campus. Things are within walking distance, like I said, it's a very safe environment, very beautiful green environment, and there's a real sense of community. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. Now, what do I mean by sense of community? Because we are a campus university, so you will find that you're surrounded by students, teachers. So there's a sense of belonging to the Warwick community, right? So some of the Indonesian students, when I try to explain to them, I try to tell them like a campus university is like UI Depok, and a city university is maybe like Tarumanegara. So if you go to Universitas Tarumanegara, it's in the middle of Jakarta. You step out of the building, you're in the middle of Jakarta, right? And so the sense of belonging may not be as strong as when you are studying in a campus, right? So there's a strong sense of community, and I'll talk about the Indonesian community shortly. But basically, what you need to know is that everything is within walking distance, and we have bars, restaurants, banks, supermarkets. For the Muslim students, we even have a musola, which is in the middle of campus, right beside the art center. So, you know, and for the Christian students, we have a chapel, and so everything is everything you need, you'll be able to find. And you know, I haven't even mentioned the hairdressers, the banks, etc. So lots of facilities on campus to make sure that you have everything you need on site. These are just some photos of Warwick. This is our new health sports hub with a mega gym, a huge gym with a big swimming pool, rock climbing. Basically, when you're on campus, you'll find that there's never a shortage of things to do. There's lots and lots of activities that you can take part in, not just sports, but also cultural activities, because we have the Warwick Art Center, which is currently being renovated, but which will be completed by 2021. So in terms of facilities at the Art Center, you'll find that there's a theater, there's even a cinema in the Warwick Art Center. You can go to the cinema on campus. And of course, I know a lot of students, they're always, you know, worried about accommodation. We do have on-campus accommodation. So I'm just going to show you some photos. This is Roots, Arthur Vic. This Sherman, the one that you see right now, this is one of the newer halls. And this is Blue L, which is one of the most expensive halls because the size of the room is very big and you don't have to share your bathroom with anyone, right? And so basically what I'm trying to say is that on campus, you will find a very diverse range of accommodations available, and you'll be able to find something that suits your need. However, I must say, when it comes to accommodation, that we guarantee for undergraduate, but we cannot guarantee for postgraduate students, right? We will try our best to allocate you a room on campus, but if there are not enough rooms available on campus, we will be able to point you in the right direction and assist you with getting off-campus accommodation. So if you're living off-campus, then you'll be living in the nearby city of Coventry or Leamington Spa. And I think this is important for you to understand. One of the really special things about Warwick is the sense of community, right? The family feeling. So for example, you know, a couple of years ago, we organized something called Love Warwick Day. And for Love Warwick Day, we asked, you know, our students what they loved about, you know, campus, what they felt was special about Warwick. And these are some of the post-it pads that came back to us. You know, people talked about how the people on campus are amazing. They talk about loving Warwick's multicultural bubble because we're a very international university with people from more than 150 nationalities, right? They talk about basically the bubble, feeling like you live in a bubble because, you know, you feel warm and safe and comfortable and pretty much, you know, protected within your community, right? So whilst facilities that I showed you, they're great, but, you know, it's really the people that make a university special. And you're going to meet some of the special people at Warwick later from the WMG team. Now, Warwick is where top Indonesian students come together. So we get, especially for our master's degrees, for our postgraduate degrees, we have students who have graduated from UI, from UGM, from ITB, from a lot of the top universities in Indonesia, right? And our alumni, after they go back to Indonesia, what do? They work with organizations like Bank Indonesia, JP Morgan, Allen and Overy for the lawyers, Chevron. Universitas Indonesia has quite a lot of lecturers, right? Lecturers who actually graduated from Warwick. So now I'm going to stop sharing my presentation and I'm going to share with you a very short video, right? So that you can get a sense of how Indonesians adapt to living in Warwick.
Indonesia needs a lot of global leaders, global talents. If you have a chance to work, to study outside Indonesia, and then expand your thought and horizon to multicultural, multi-education, and then most importantly, experiences working with people around the world, take it. That's the best opportunity for you to grow.
Yeah, I wanted to study more about behavioral economics, and Warwick was one of the few universities who offered that program. And I think based on the ranks and the testimonials from a lot of the alumni, it's one of the best places to study behavioral economics. That's why I chose to go to Warwick. And little did I know that the experience that is almost 1 year now, I guess, has been very enriching in a lot of ways, because Warwick is a place where ideas can be facilitated, not only academically, but also non-academically. I've been able to do a lot of things related to non-academic work, for example, from the Indonesian Students Association in the UK. And I've also been able to, form really great relationships with people from all around Warwick, not only the students, but also the staff. Warwick is a place, I think it's like a home, because when you're in Warwick, you don't really have to go anywhere to get things. You can watch a movie in the cinema, for example. You can enjoy arts events. You can even have creative writing courses, which is I didn't expect that. What I will take into account when I go back is that I can still be myself, but at the same time, try to do bigger and greater things in Indonesia to contribute for the country, because that's what I learned from people and friends in Warwick. I think you can still be yourself while making great changes. It's really good to be graduating today.
Right, so that's the end of my presentation. I think I took a little bit more than 5 minutes, so I'm going to quickly hand over to Kathy Fawcett, who will tell you a little bit more about WMG. Your turn, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Imran. That was really good and really nice to see so many beautiful images of the campus as well. So it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to welcome you to today's virtual event, and to welcome my colleagues, Professor Jay Bell and Mairi Macintyre, who've been working, I think, at Warwick for, in WMG for 20 years. I don't want to age you or anything, but I know that you've worked closely together for so many years. And there's a lot of commonality, and you've got so much to say and so much to share with students and with people who are interested in innovation, in entrepreneurship, in service, in adding value, and in business and management. But before we turn our focus to today's topic of innovation and entrepreneurship and creating value for your customer, I want to give you a brief introduction to WMG, because it really is rather a unique department. It's quite different. So I'm going to share my screen for even less time than Imran, just to highlight a couple of the things about that, so that you can understand what WMG is as a department, because it isn't a traditional university department. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that? Is that clear now?
You might want to go to full screen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why. Sorry. Yeah, here we are. So Imran showed some really lovely images of the university campus and explained that everything is walking distance, everything is really close. But I just wanted to explore the scale of WMG as a department at Warwick. It's one of 30 academic departments in the university, and it really is at the centre of the university campus. It's a very, very large department. There are 10 buildings sort of full of WMG research and WMG education projects within the campus. And this shows just a couple of those there. So we've got a huge teaching centre here, which is called the MEC. This building is called the International Digital Laboratory, and is where a lot of our teaching teaching staff and course office are based. We've got the International Manufacturing Centre, where we have a lot of teaching taking place. And so it's really at the heart of the university campus. But what makes WMG a unique department, I would say, is not just the sheer scale of the department. Imran talked about university rankings and Warwick being a very highly ranked university. And part of that is because Warwick is a member of the Russell Group universities, which is rather like the US Ivy League universities. And the Russell Group means that the university really is world-class and very research intensive. And to just demonstrate how important that is, or how large a part of Warwick's research WMG as a department is, 42% of Warwick's research income comes from this one department, multidisciplinary department, located in the Faculty of Science and Engineering, and a very, very interesting, unique department that doesn't really exist in any other institution that we know of. So it's large. There's an extensive, as well as the research, and I'll sort of show you a little bit about what research we're doing. It's got a huge, extensive portfolio of education programs, from bachelor's degrees to executive courses, doctorate, postdoctorate, and of course, the full-time master's program, which is what we're talking about today. We have 15 master's courses, attracting over 1,200 full-time students from 60 different countries. So you can just feel the volume and the scale and the environment that you'd be studying in. As well as teaching at Warwick in the UK campus, there are 8 overseas teaching centres. So we've got routes into different countries around the world, which makes it a really, truly international affair. And very, very close ties and collaborations with industry. So over 1,000 industry partnerships. The other thing that's really important about WMG is the pioneering approach. So, WMG, I think as a department, it originally stood for Warwick Manufacturing Group, and was established in the 1980s as a department. But since it was established, it's really been an international role model for how academia and industry collaborate. So how universities work together with businesses. It's an interdisciplinary research and education centre that brings together principles of business and management with the creativity of technology and innovation. And it's a trailblazing department. So as well as being trailblazing, it's very adaptable and dynamic. So whilst in the original days, in the 1980s, when it was first established, the focus was really on helping industries maximize their manufacturing potential. Now we're looking at the digital revolution, at Industry 4, at cybersecurity, at technologies and digitalization of healthcare. intelligent vehicles and sustainable transportation. So really it moves, it's adaptable, it's dynamic, and it works with the future, and it is where we are. And that feeds into the teaching programs, of course, as well. So innovation can't be compartmentalized. The department has very, very innovative teaching methods, and that creates academic excellence and really focuses on industrial relevance as well. And I think Jay and Mairi will be able to showcase that and give you a lot more detail about that further on. So I mentioned that WMG has got 15 full-time master's courses. We're not going to go into details of those now. I'm just going to show you very quickly those courses, what they are. So we're looking at management and things like engineering, business management, technology management, project management. We're looking at things related to specific sectors like the healthcare, so healthcare operational management, cybersecurity, manufacturing, automotive courses. And at the heart of that is our business courses. So innovation and entrepreneurship and service management and design are those that we're going to be focusing on specifically today. And what makes the courses in WMG so special? I would say so much, but really the design, the content and the delivery. There's so much employer content and industry content put into that design and delivery. Tutors are exceptionally well qualified, industrial backgrounds. I think both Mairi and Jay will be able to talk to you about theirs. And that, coupled with external speakers that come in, really brings real world insight into the classroom. It's an interactive learning environment. So throughout your studies, you would work with teams in syndicate activities, simulations and games. So you're not just listening and reading theory, but you're understanding how to implement that and understanding the techniques of deployment. The course has a very intensive modular structure, which really maximizes that learning potential. And the other thing which I think is a real key differentiator, and especially for the courses that we're going to talk about today, is the fact that half of your time is really dedicated to your own project, your research project, where you'll focus on your specific area of interest, or for innovation and entrepreneurship, your own business idea. And so really that helps you establish your own business or really achieve your career goal. I'm going to pass over to Jay and Mairi to introduce themselves and their background a little bit, but just very, very quickly, we're talking about Professor Jay Bao, who is the course leader and developer for the MSc program in Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And we're talking about Mairi Macintyre, who is the course leader and developer for Service Management and Design. And so I'm going to just, and today's format is going to be a panel discussion with Jay and Mairi, looking at innovation and entrepreneurship and creating value for your customer. So we've got a lot of questions, but please, I also ask you to think about what you're listening to and think about what questions that you will have in addition to that, because we're going to have a substantial Q&A session after the panel discussion. I hope it's going to be a really insightful and helpful event for you today. We really welcome questions and comments as well. So Jay, I'm going to stop sharing now, and if you would like to bear with me one moment. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, and there we are, and sort of touch on innovation and entrepreneurship.
Okay, thanks very much, Kathy. I always hate it when people ask me about my background, because it's kind of a varied mix of things. I started off, my first degree was actually in, I started off trying to be a civil engineer. But when I kind of, after my first year of civil engineering, I decided that with one decimal place mistake, I could move tons and tons of soil to the wrong place. So I gave that up and chose to become an electronics engineer instead, and ended up kind of, after studying, becoming an electronics designer, designing telephone exchanges, and then moved on really to, this is kind of thing I think a lot of people go, they think they want to be a senior manager. So I did like an MBA course on how to be a kind of a senior manufacturing manager, and ended up running a factory, employing about 300 people making telephone exchanges. And that's when I realized I didn't actually want to be a senior manager in an existing business. Because probably like a lot of you, I thought, oh, if I'm the boss, I'm the senior manager, then I tell other people what to do. And in real life, it isn't like that. What is it if you're the more senior person, and I'm sure some of the other colleagues on the cast can tell you, your whole job becomes supporting your employees, running around helping them do the best job they can, rather than them running around helping you do the best job you can. So it was kind of an awakening call for me. So I quit. I quit a few times in my career and went back to being a designer. And I kind of did a master's program in chip design. And then after having worked as a designer in science, I then joined the university as really research on putting more advanced electronics into vehicles. And I've ended up to where I am now with a whole range of different inputs. So it's difficult to say.
Thank you very much. More is going to come out, Jay. More is going to come out when you explain, when we talk about entrepreneurship and your views and perspectives on all of this, because it's absolutely fascinating. Mairi, would you like to give a quick introduction to yourself and your background?
Yeah, my background, I was a mechanical engineer. I am a mechanical engineer. That's what I studied at university. And I worked designing Caterpillar trucks when I left. So big earth-moving machinery. And I worked on a design project to design a new range of Caterpillar trucks, which was a terrific experience. And I saw the kind of cycle from identifying the market opportunity to designing the new truck, creating the concept, trialing it, testing it, prototyping it, launching it, and then seeing it into production for the first year. And it was a great learning opportunity for me. But once I'd done it once, I kind of thought I enjoyed that, and I could do that again, or maybe I could change the sector. And I love the opportunities at Warwick University. So I jumped over into academia and moved from industry into academia, where I've been ever since. But having the background in industry and having that desire and motivation to see new ideas come to fruition has never left me. And I think that's what I love about WMG and WMG's courses, is that it doesn't just allow you, it really celebrates your close relationship with industry and making sure that what you develop and what you do is meaningful and worthwhile and has a place in the real world. And I love that combination of the academic rigor combined with the relevance, with the real relevance in real world. So I guess that partly also explains the service management design program, where my background, I've got an interest in design. I'm a mechanical engineer. I've got good grounding in product design, and I have seen the industry shift. I've seen industry shift and move, and I've seen the complexity and the intrigue and the creativity around a simple transaction-based product industry transforming itself into being a partner, a relationship, a solution provider. I was a massive cynic when I first heard about this shift in industry. I got involved as a researcher, and of course, now I'm one of the biggest converts, and I see the value in understanding the complexity of service and making that relationship with the customer. I guess, Kathy, that's me.
Thank you very much, Mairi. That was really interesting. I think what we're going to do is start with our panel. I've got several questions. Obviously, there are questions coming in as well from some of the people that have joined us. So we've got a great number of people in our chat today as well. But I think the first question, first and foremost, I'm going to put to Jay, if that's okay, Jay. And it is about what about becoming an entrepreneur, really? What characteristics are needed to become a successful entrepreneur? Where do we start with that?
That's a sort of very common question, and increasingly an important question, because more and more governments are actually doing talent recruitment programs to try and bring more entrepreneurial thinking to their country. And what is an entrepreneurial mindset, or what is an entrepreneur? Well, I think they're people that see opportunity all around them. They have a very positive mindset. And I think the technical term now in terms of careers and lifestyles is it's the same as a growth mindset. And often people are now kind of saying this is one of the keys to being having a happy and successful life, having a growth mindset, or similarly an entrepreneurial mindset. And what it is kind of enjoying challenges, enjoying problems, enjoying solving those. And rather than kind of thinking, well, oh, that's difficult, I can't do it. The fun and the enjoyment, which certainly applies to me and Mairi, is how can we do it? There's always a way that you can do it. And I think an entrepreneur and a growth mindset is about exploring different ways that you can achieve what you want, and seeing that as part of the fun and the challenge, rather than a fear and a barrier and a big obstacle. And that mindset is, and increasing research is pointing out, is kind of key to success and happiness in life. Yeah. So you can tell how much I've sort of been convinced by that entrepreneurial viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. I know we get a lot of people who dream of setting up their own business and have got multiple ideas. How, on your course, how do you go about helping people
it's interesting.
refine their ideas and decide which one to focus on and which one to take forward? How would you go about analysing it and helping them analyse it to understand whether that would work?
Okay, let me give you an example. So last week I was talking to one of the students on the programme this year, and he's trying to choose which one of his ideas, and he's got lots of them, but he had two at the front of his mind. One was he's really keen on blogging and writing, and he wanted to create like a blogging cafe. And his other idea was totally different. It was he's got a family business that produces software for the oil and gas industry. And he didn't know which one of those to do as his investigation on the course. You might think that's a difficult problem, but for me, it's actually quite an easy problem, because what you try and do is you combine those things together. So the challenge becomes, how can you combine blogging and the desire to have like a blogging cafe, and people get together and discuss things and have a coffee and enjoy the discussion, with creating software for the oil and gas industry? Now that becomes the challenge, and everybody has similar challenges with that multiple. So what you realize is that blogging is about people sharing ideas, and within the field, open innovation, people sharing ideas with a wider group of people, is one of the key ways of really innovating in businesses. So his project now becomes how to use open innovation to improve the software for our oil and gas business. It's about combining things and seeing where the links are. And so I don't worry. I think if people have lots of ideas, that's great. You can't do all of those ideas, but the ideal solution is to combine them together, or as much as possible. So
fantastic. What about, there's a bit of a debate around, I don't know, nature versus nurture. So what about if somebody wants to start up a business, but they don't necessarily have formulated ideas? Can you learn to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, the first important skill, I think, is in value and spotting value. And I've just the background I've got behind me at the moment is kind of an example of how there's value all around us. So in the UK and in many other countries, there were lots of kind of visiting farms. So where you can go along and pet and play with goats like behind me. Now with the coronavirus and the lockdown, suddenly these weren't making money anymore. And a lot of people would have shut down. But an entrepreneurial mindset says, okay, where is their value? Where is their value? And in this case, for example, the farm, and there's then other people have copied this around the world, they allow you to rent a goat for a Zoom meeting, a bit like what we're doing at the moment. And this farm that we've got in the background here, they're making £50,000 a year by renting their goats out for Zoom meetings like we're doing now. So I think there is value all around us. And the idea really is how learning to see that hidden value. You know, there's a saying that kind of necessity breeds that. And in this case, you know, the necessity to make money opened their minds up to things that were dark to them before. So all around us is opportunity. And through training and through having the right mindset, you can learn to see that opportunity. And particularly if you then come on a program like the one we provide, an entrepreneurship program, that teaches you how to release that value, how to execute a process, a business to release that value. And that's the difference. A lot of people have ideas. There's no shortage of ideas. All of the people in this call will have had ideas. What we often suffer from is a lack of knowledge and expertise in how to execute those ideas. So a good entrepreneurship program helps you with ideas, but it also teaches you how to execute them or guides you in how to execute them, because there is no one way. Everybody has a separate path. Okay.
Is it possible to put into a nutshell what the steps would be for an entrepreneur to take a great idea and bring that into fruition? Or is that just too much? That's the whole course and more.
No, I think that there's a whole bunch of very well thought through tools that you can use. And there's also different people have a structure for how you use those different tools, the order that you use them in. But the tools don't give you an answer. What they do is help you with questions and with exploring answers to those questions. So a tool might tell you to go and look at a particular technology or a particular market, but what you see depends on your interpretation. So that's why everybody ends up with different solutions. So we can take a same class of students through the same set of tools and process, but they'll all come up with different answers. And so that's where the individuality, that's where your own creativity, that's where your values and your perspective in life create your business, your individual business. It's interesting because Indonesian students, we have a fair number on the program most years. And I was quite surprised because a lot of them tended to focus in more the early years, tended to focus on very socially caring business ideas. That was a definite kind of differentiation on the Indonesian students.
How nice, how good. Really, really positive. We talk a lot about creating value and creating value for your customer. What exactly do you mean by creating value for your customer, and what techniques can be used to create value? Have you got some concrete examples?
Yeah, maybe the word create value is not appropriate. Maybe, I mean, the value is always there. It's kind of seeing it and releasing it.
Okay.
So, an example I use sometimes that a friend of mine who's a fantastic entrepreneur, most of us, when we see a queue, maybe a queue for a business, maybe a queue for a cafe or a queue for a tourist attraction. What do we think? We think, oh, there's a problem there, you know, oh, they're just getting in the way. I wish they wouldn't queue. And we kind of take that kind of viewpoint. But an entrepreneur viewpoint is, there's a queue. People have a problem. How can I solve that problem and release value and create value, either for the people in the queue or for the people being disturbed by the queue? And so all around us, I think one of the things we first do at the start of the course is to send people into different businesses and analyze those businesses. What are the things that are going well? What are the things they're doing badly? How much money are they making per transaction? How much money are they making per year? What potential is there for improvement? And this becomes a set of standard questions that you ask wherever you go, almost. You go into a cafe, you buy a ticket for the bus or whatever, you learn to ask these questions. And just asking these questions then reveals value to you.
Thanks,
and it's something
thanks,
to start
Jay.
off with on the programme.
Thanks, Jay. Can I bring Mairi in here as well? Because in the context of a service business, obviously this is really important and is really at the heart of what you're doing on the service management design course as well. Can you explain in the context of a service business how you go about creating or adding or seeing and releasing that value for your customer?
So, I mean, this is one of the massive drivers for the growth of the service sector, as many manufacturing-oriented businesses wish to become solution providers. They wish to get involved in developing a service-based business with maybe a physical product at the heart, at the core of their business. And how do they do that? What's all that about? And the starting point, it may be your desire to make more money or to increase the profit margins on your physical product, but that's not your starting point to really generate value. Where your starting point is, from a service perspective, is understand your customer. What is your customer trying to achieve? So consider, what is the outcome that my customer is trying to achieve? And then you serve that purpose. So your job is then to understand, with all the resources available to me, all the knowledge that I have, all the skills that I have, the supply chain I have, even my competitors, how do we configure ourselves best so that my customer will be able to achieve the outcome that they want to achieve? And it's that mindset change, massive mindset change, to move away from saying, how do I sell more of my stuff, to how do I understand what my customer wants to achieve? And therefore, how do I configure everything at my disposal to help them achieve that the best? And that is a service, that's a service dominant mindset. So your move is, rather than saying, right, let's try and sell what I make, and you're moving around to very easily, I'm trying to make what I can sell. So you may end up with a product still at the heart of your business. You don't have to move away from the manufacturing sector to deliver excellent service. Think about Rolls-Royce, think about IBM. These guys still may make items, but their service is what differentiates them, what brings them profit margin, and what enables them to grow and sustain as a business. So understanding what your customer outcome is, that's your starting point. And then you roll everything back from that. Education program, we're speaking to people online just now who want, I'm guessing, they want to have an overseas educational master's program because they want to transform their lives and increase their opportunity for the rest of their life. Yes, you want a year overseas, but you want to make such a substantial step change in your life experiences that you transform for the rest of your life. So it's really important that people like me and Jay, we hold on to the idea that the people coming through our programs are on a journey. It's not their end point. This is part of their path in their life journey. And it's part of our path. It's part of our professional community. So when you come and you join, you become part of the professional community. And our role is to support you through the development as much as we can as you progress upon your life journey, because that's the outcome you're trying to achieve. So we've got much broader interests than just how do we deliver a classroom? You know, how do we teach a particular topic? We want to know about how do we foster a mindset? How do we foster engagement? How do we involve industry? How do we improve your opportunities? And that motivates us because we're living in that mindset of trying to understand, well, what are my students trying to get out of this? And how do I help them get there?
Thanks, Mairi. That sort of brings me on very, very neatly to another question that I had, really, because you talked about Rolls-Royce and IBM, and I know that you've worked with a lot of very well-established businesses that are not typically or traditionally seen as service businesses, but the business models switch quite fundamentally from being product-centric to service-centric. Can you sort of explain and elaborate a little bit to explain where or these examples of service design and where that's being used to transform a business and add value for customers, and why it's so important for so many businesses?
Oh, yes, I can. I mean, I think this idea that there's a duality of either manufacturing or service, I think, you know, to begin with, we have to sort of kick that into touch a little bit in terms of sector. I think you can talk about outlook, and I think you can talk about growth, and that will cover all. But this idea that you're either in manufacturing sector or you're in service sector, and there's a much greater blurring between the lines. Those that would be in the traditional service sector, what we can provide is we can provide the knowledge and the skills and the methodology of understanding your business operations in a more scientific way. So traditionally, service sector has grown up from the idea of it's all about personalization and feel and touch, which is clearly an important outcome. But to structure your business in a methodical way behind that to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of your business, those tools and techniques are straight out of the manufacturing world. And we're good at them. You know, we're good at understanding those tools and techniques and applying them into a different sector. On the contrast, businesses who have brought themselves up as thinking that their business is all about product, it's all about selling volumes, giving discounts, increasing the market share, volume is better. Those guys are learning that, oh, hang on a minute, that's not giving us longevity. It's not giving us a long-term relationship with our customers. It's not giving us loyalty. And customers don't keep coming back to us. They're just making a decision based purely on price. And as the markets change, sometimes we can compete and sometimes we can't. We want to learn how to have a real strong service offering, which brings loyalty and generates relationships for a longer period with our customers. We want to do it just not on a personal level, but we want a contract. We want a contract of service that might take us across for a 15-year period where actually we'll continue to own the asset, we'll service it, we'll repair it, we'll maintain it, and we'll work alongside our customers for 15 years and allow them to free up their energy to grow their business, grow their market, and for market recovery given today's time. So the service contract is very attractive for a manufacturing company because it will give you a guaranteed income over quite a long period of time. But you can only get there if you understand what can you offer your customers and what risk do they take by owning a product, and what risks can you take from them to say, you don't have to own it, I'll keep ownership of it, and I'll give you all these different additional benefits. But with that, of course, you will be obliged to contract me for a longer period of time. And that's about understanding your customer deeply, not just understanding your customer and what you think they like. You have to understand them in terms of their financial risk and their attitudes towards their market, their strategy and their growth. And you need to understand that in a certainly business to business in depth to understand where you can add value to that. And that is not necessarily always just, oh, let's have a 25-year contract. It's about working with them so that you serve their needs as best you can. I'm a bit waffly. I mean, examples of this, Rolls-Royce is a classic example that we're no longer, if you're an airline, you no longer own an engine or an aircraft. What you do is that you have a service contract with them for maybe a period of 15 or 20 years, Rolls-Royce say, we design the engine, we're the best people to look after it, we'll maintain it, and you will give us power, we will sell you power by the hour. So you will pay for working hours of power in the sky, and we'll deliver that to you. And that's the kind of the classic example of a real servitized business model.
Perfect example. Thank you very much.
I was on a waffle.
I'm going to come back to Jay now. When we're looking at creating or releasing value from our customers, I suppose as an entrepreneur, what you're looking for yourself is to be very profitable and get ahead of your competition. How does this process differ according to whether the company is a startup or maybe an existing family business or a large established business? Because we have people coming from all different types of business, don't we, in different stages onto this course.
I think that's a good question. All that's different in those situations is the starting point. So where are you in terms of starting point? And that starting point is linked to the kind of resources, to the network, to the capabilities that you have. So if you're an existing business, you have a kind of more defined starting point. Whereas if you're a startup business, then the starting point is a lot more vague because you are not bringing sort of fixed assets to it. So the process is the same. And particularly we in WMG, and as part of the kind of innovation entrepreneurship effort within WMG, we run a kind of pre-incubator, which at the moment is filled with about 6 ex-students who are starting off their business. We also run an accelerator, which is helping existing businesses sort of grow and become more successful. And I think the thing that unites the challenge for existing businesses and startup businesses is a thing called product market fit. How well does what you're offering fit with the needs of your target customers? And you can kind of measure the success of a business by the level of product market fit. So if you've got fantastic product market fit, then the customers are kind of knocking down your door, breaking in at midnight, taking your products and throwing their money at you. Now, that's a stage we'd all kind of dream of trying to get to. The other side of where you've got poor product market.
We've got in WMG.
That's the dream for most businesses. The other side of it is poor product market fit. And that's where you're having to give discounts. You're having to spend a lot of money promoting. You're spending on marketing. You're going out networking. And existing businesses and new businesses have this same problem of how do you get to better product market fit. And a lot of what Mairi has just been talking about, really understanding your customers and understanding what their real needs are as opposed to what you think they are, which is often the case with companies, is part of what we kind of train you through and take you through. If you've got a minute, I can give you an example. So one of the companies in our accelerator is a company called OK Doc. And this is a guy who was an engineer, he quit his job, and basically he's providing his Zoom, his target was to create a customized kind of like Zoom service for doctors to be able to talk to their patients with. And he spent a bit of time and effort developing his system, aligned it so that it met the needs of sort of patients and doctors better. He was foolish. He was foolish. And he learned that when he tried to go to doctors and try and sell his system to them. Well, first of all, doctors don't make the decision. Usually clinic practice managers, so managers, professional managers make the decision about what system the doctors are going to use. And then secondly, in the UK, for example, all the doctors work for the National Health Service. So the practice managers use the systems that the National Health Service tells them to do. So no matter how good his product was, he wasn't going to be able to sell it, because first he had to sell it to the National Health Service, and that takes years and years. So he had bad product market fit. What he was offering didn't actually meet the overall requirements of the market. So the question then is, what would you do under those circumstances? What do you try and look for customers who there was a better product market fit? And so we steered him and his company towards, instead of doctors, vets. Vets have the same problem, that they need to talk to people's pets. And video conferencing is equally a good way. They are not controlled something, they're not dominated by a National Health Service telling them what to use. So now he's having success in that area, and he's beginning to make sales, whereas before that he spent over a year with no sales. So it goes back to this understanding who are the best customers, who gets the most value from what you're offering, and can they actually use that value? Can they access it? And so a lot of the work we do is actually transforming either the target, you either change who you're trying to sell it to, or you stick with the same customer target, but you have to then change what is it you're actually offering them. And part of it might be services to enhance the value of the product. So maybe a long answer, and I don't know if I've answered what you asked for.
No, I think you have answered, thank you. And it's really useful to see that, because a lot of the positivity comes out of making mistakes to start with, doesn't it? So the more not the more mistakes you make, the better you do, but it's really important step in that journey to especially in the safe academic environment, to be able to make those mistakes.
That's a really important point you made. I think there's research that shows that before an entrepreneur becomes really successful, they have to have something on average like 3.5 failures. So what we have to see is that a failure isn't really a failure. A failure is part of the learning journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I still support that, Jay, you know, and I think that in the classroom, you have a whole year where you can experiment with things that you've never come across before. And you know, if it doesn't work, that's okay. And in a master's, your ability to critically think about it, to try to understand reasons why things have worked or not worked, and to have a look to see if there's any theory that can help you. It's not always going to give you the answers, but it might give you some pointers. And if you do disagree with the theories, at least you've got a backdrop to discuss it and rationalize against. And having a whole master's where you can take that kind of personal risk and learn what it feels like to not get the result you wanted, maybe, and then to make something from that, to learn from it, and to enjoy that process and develop that thinking pattern. I mean, it's so precious. You know, so you come to the masters, you know, you're going to travel halfway around the world. You're going to come out of your comfort zone. But the very act of you doing that will give you opportunities to learn and learn and learn. And the most, I mean, some of the most disappointing things to do or to see, to witness, are those that try it, fail, and determine that therefore that's the end of that journey. And that's sad to see, you know, that's not a positive outcome. And what we want to, I mean, what we celebrate at being part of an academic institution is learning. So it's finding ways to take that learning forward all the time. And so many alumni, you know, I'm sure you'll ask about that, Kathy, but so many alumni I'm aware of from the programme have gone on, and many from the service MSc as well are motivated by entrepreneurship and will go on to develop entrepreneurship, to develop their own businesses. And of course, the first 1, 2, 3 haven't worked out, but they've had the ability to embrace that and learn from it and take it forward, which is, I think, a significant thing that you can take from having your master's experience.
Yeah. On that subject of learning, really, what I see is an interesting change. I mean, we're talking about innovation largely in this meeting, and a lot of the kind of learning, that the way it's structured is actually not orientated towards innovation. So innovation, the definition of innovation is, it's not invention. Innovation is taking a good idea or a product or a method from one field and modifying it and adapting it and using it in another field. So in terms of learning, what that's telling me is that a broad learning is actually better for innovation than very narrow specialist learning. Narrow specialist learning is maybe great for invention, but the real money in business comes from innovation and less so from invention. And as our kind of leader at WMG used to say in the past, there's so many things that have been invented already that we haven't learned how to use properly yet. We haven't applied all the uses for them. So my opinion is that partly we teach the wrong things, and we've tried to address that in our programs. We don't necessarily need people with lots more specialist knowledge. The key to success, I believe, in the current society and in the world around us is having broader knowledge, and also having the confidence that you can go and learn what you need. You can go and learn what is necessary for you to apply the material that your wider knowledge tells you is important. So I think that to really get ahead and succeed in your careers nowadays, a very broad knowledge is what's required, because broad knowledge allows you to innovate. It brings in ideas from other areas into problems that you're having in what you're doing. And that's maybe a contrary view on it. But if you come along to our programs, you know, we take a lot of contrary views. You have to take contrary views to challenge current thinking on it. And we can give you lots of examples. It's a bit like most people who study business, or most of us tend to think competition is good. You know, we all go study these courses and think competition is good. Only if you're the customer. If you're a business, then competition is bad, because that means you have to compete harder, you have to give discounts, you have to lower the prices. That makes for a bad business. So one of the first things you should be doing is not embracing competition, but running away from it and trying to find products and markets where there is no competition, because that's where you'll have a great life, making money and having a good life as well. So there's a lot of contrary stuff around the general myth and what people understand and what is true in life, in business. Sorry, my controversial views there.
That brings me onto things about innovation and disruption, actually, and to ask you a bit more about the business landscape and how that's changed over the last few years, and whether this gives more opportunities or limits opportunities. Is there such a thing as a saturated market? What's your views on that?
Well, it's a kind of broad question, but I kind of touched upon the point at the moment that many countries, and Singapore is one, where they've really tried to get startup businesses and others with an innovative mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset. And we're just working at the moment. China is building a program. Most countries are kind of desperate for this kind of mindset. And why do we need this mindset? Because I think maybe big business has come to its kind of natural limit in a way. It varies. Probably my guess is in Indonesia that around 30 to 40% of all businesses are what I would call zombie businesses, i.e. they kind of are surviving, but they'll never really grow hugely. They're making enough money to kind of pay off their debts or their kind of obligations, but there's not a lot of growth potential, and it varies in different countries. In the UK, the figure before coronavirus was 15% of all businesses were zombie businesses. So how do you turn around one of these zombie businesses? And, you know, we're talking about 30 to 40% of the economy in terms of businesses. How do you turn those zombie businesses into successful, high growth businesses? That's something that we, as kind of people interested in business, but also governments, that's the question they're trying to answer. And startup, understanding tools and methods from startup business are really the only mechanisms that are available to help us turn existing businesses around as well as start new ones. So, for example, this year, supervising quite a few students who are looking at growth hacking as a mechanism. Now, growth hacking is a set of tools and process for trying to grow a business. And it started up in the startup area with new businesses and entrepreneurs trying to do growth hacking. But can growth hacking be applied to an existing zombie business? Why not? And that's the kind of questions that we ask of you to think about if you sort of come on our programs, really. Do you want to ask
about? Sorry, can I ask, I know that we've got about 20, 25 minutes left, and we've got Q&A to come as well. I just wanted to quickly touch on the usage of big data and technology and artificial intelligence. How, can we come to Mairi maybe first, and how does technology and big data, what role does that play in supporting service delivery? And how does it help a company or business gain competitive advantage?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, I work closely with some guys who are out of IBM, and in the program they inform this space in the curriculum development for the service program. I'm not an expert in AI.
I am.
I recognize its limitations. So the AI, yes, it can perform many tasks. Its ability to learn, computers don't learn like we learn. And recognizing that computers don't learn, they can learn, but they don't learn in the same way that we do. And that means that we are always in a position to have an element of creativity that an AI will not match, because they do not learn in the way that we learn. And I think that that's an interesting thing that I think needs to be acknowledged, so that when we look at where we can apply AI to help us do things, we do it in an informed way as to what benefits it will bring us. I also think that this relationship between big data, when there's all this, big data is the new oil, big data's we're going to be able to find out how everybody behaves and what trends are. This requires skillful storytelling. So just because you can get the data doesn't mean that you know the story. Data is just data, and it's down to a creative, informed mind to be able to develop the narrative that will tell you how this data will go together. And recognizing that balance between, yes, data is great, it informs, and you can also use it as an asset, and you can use it to influence. And I like all that about it. I recognize where we can use it, but you have to have strong hold of what your strategy is and what story it is that you're going to tell with this data that you have. And that's yours. That's not going to be given to you. So it's not like you can invest on the big data machine and then all your business problems will be solved. So I do recognize that in the course and with what I see coming through industry, there's a misconception as to the promise that AI and big data will bring us, and that it will be, and the most successful stories that have exploited big data and AI have done it by having a strong narrative and direction and strategy of where people want to use it. And learning how to put those two things together is again something that we will explore during the program. How do we collect the data? And recognizing that just because you've got data doesn't mean you've got answers, but it does mean that you have put a burden on your organization to collect that data. So if you're asking for all the big data, what are you going to do with it? That's the question. It costs your organization money to collect that for you. It puts a burden on your organization. And when you've got it in front of you, do you know what you're going to do with it? And I guess that's what we would explore, during the program. So I think that the service industry, the theory behind service, when it initially kind of got a new lease of life in the mid-2000s, so about 2006, 2007, there was a kind of a real renewed focus on what service was. And at that point, everybody in service was working together to understand the role of data and how it worked. And over the past maybe like 5 or 10 years after that, what happened was that there was a bit of a split with people considering service to be the more digital side and other people's considering service to be the more experiential side. And actually, again, it's this idea of you can't split the two things apart. You've got to bring them back together again and understand how they fit.
Thank you. We've got some really good questions coming in here. And I know that I think it's time to sort of address some of the questions that some of our visitors today have posed to us, and I've got a few really good ones, particularly Jay actually at the moment, around if, for example, I've got one from Deska. If I have a business, yes, sorry.
Sorry, I actually compiled because I kept track of all the questions. Shall I do the Q&A as
Yeah, okay, lovely, absolutely. That would be great.
Right, lovely. Okay, thank you. So
thank you.
Yeah, so whilst Kathy was busy,
I just wanted to answer a little bit following on from what Mairi was saying about technology. So actually my PhD was on AI, and that was about 20 years ago. And I ran one of the first sort of master's programs on artificial intelligence some years ago. You know, when I was talking about zombie businesses and how do we turn around zombie businesses? Well, data and kind of better use of data is actually one of our main weapons. So nearly every business generates data in some way or another. For example, we talked to a business that manages tires on fleets of trucks. Where's the data in that? Well, actually, they take measurements on how the tires wear on each axle. And what they found was that their data on which brands of tires wear better on which wheel on a 24-wheeler truck is actually hugely valuable to truck manufacturers and tire manufacturers. So one of the ways to turn around these zombie businesses is to actually look at data that the business generates or doesn't see value in and monetize it. Find out who would pay you for that data. And that's becoming an increasingly important revenue stream in many, many businesses. Sorry, Imran, I didn't mean to, but I think that they are tools and we need to understand them to be able to sort of generate the value from them. But they give us new ways of making money for our businesses.
Thank you very much, Jay. At this point, I think we've heard so much about your ideas on how WMG can help the Indonesian students achieve their entrepreneurial goals. We actually have today online right now Ms. Ivy Londa, who was a Chevening scholar and who actually did this course. So Ivy, I would like to invite you to quickly switch on maybe your camera and just say a few words about how you think this course helped you. Ivy, are you there?
Hi, Imran. Yes, but the host disabled my camera. Can you please turn it on?
Okay. Let me enable it right now. Hang on. More. Sorry, Pa Hendra, can you help me with the camera, please? But never mind, Ivy, you just go ahead and speak.
Okay.
We don't disable actually.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
There you
Ivy.
go. Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Ivy. Hi, happy to see some familiar faces. Hi Jay, hi Kathy. I took the IAE program on 18 2018, 2019. So I just come back from the UK last year after the graduation. So I guess I was the last batch who experienced this full offline course, and that's exciting. So yeah, as you know, a lot of change after my graduation, and that's been challenging. But now I'm with the Meta Innovation Lab, where I give consultation for innovation, and I also have a startup of beverage startup. It's kombucha startup. It's gaining popularity in Indonesia, and I got into this market like maybe 6 months ago, just after the pandemic. So yeah, I think this. Thank you. So I guess the IAE programs really helped me to establish my business. I mean, my startup this is my first experience. So I worked before I joined the program. So this is my actually real business. And I must say, there's so much failures. I agree with Jay. I mean, like you said 3.5 failures. Oh my God, I hope this is not my first failure to take, then I will have another 2.5 failure more. But anyway, I guess taking the IAE will equip you with the right tools. I mean, it won't give, I mean, the failure will be there. And I also have a lot of trial and error also in my business, but at least I knew, at least I've been equipped with the path of making a business. And I think that really helping, because you know, entrepreneurial journey it's a lonely journey. And I think having IAE before I start my business really helped me to know, like it's a map, you know, it's like a pirate map. At least I got the map, and that's up to me to walk on the map to the treasure, to the entrepreneurial journey itself.
Thank you so much, Ivy. Thanks for sharing your experience, and really good luck with your business venture. So for those of you who want to maybe later find out a little bit more, you can just PM Ivy to maybe try to see whether you can get some information from her as well. Now we've got some really great questions come in, and I think a question that a lot of students want to know for the innovation and entrepreneurship course is that, can we apply if we do not have any business idea yet, or if we have an existing business that we want to expand? Can we apply for this course?
Yes, I mean, we get applicants with both of those kind of backgrounds. When you arrive, as soon as you start attending courses, and also from talking to all the other students on the program, soon you will have lots and lots of ideas, because it's the environment, the people you talk to, people like Ivy on the course, or like myself and others. We're there to discuss and generate new ideas. So in that environment, pretty soon you'll gather lots of ideas. We also get people who come along where they have an existing business, and we work in two ways. One, we kind of can help them sort of grow the existing business, but that's not our preference. Our preference, going back to what I was talking about with product market fit earlier on, what we would want to do is actually analyze that business from the point of view of product market fit. And actually then our goal usually is for the student, quite often it's the family business that they've got. So our goal quite often for the student is not to do their own kind of startup, but to develop a new division or a new direction for the family business. And the tools are the same. The way you think about things is the same. As I said earlier on, the only difference is that you have a different starting point. You already higher up the mountain if you come in with a business already, or a family business behind you. You're always already a third or halfway up the climb.
Thanks, Jay. Another question that a student has asked, one of the attendees has asked, is that they say that WMG has an SME group, and is this something that the students can join? The master's students is this something they can join?
It really depends on what they choose to do for their project. So I work very closely with the SME team. So that's about 30 people now, and they are employed full-time going out helping local businesses of all types. And so the team itself has experts in different areas. So they have experts in kind of process design, experts in IoT, experts in electronics, software, 3D printing. So basically small businesses in the UK come to them with problems or issues, and they apply their expertise to try and help grow and solve the problems for those businesses. That creates lots of opportunities. But actually what we're finding is that a lot of the stuff we develop through the IAE program and from the kind of research we do feeds into what the SME team does. So yes, the opportunity is there, and it really depends on the project space that do. But for example, earlier this year with this year's intake, we got 6 companies in who kind of talked about the issues and problems that we had, and we created groups of students who over a 6-week period, meeting regularly every week on a number of challenges, try to help those SMEs. So there's plenty of opportunity for kind of hands-on. I mean, one of our very good Chevening students from the past, he was very dynamic. He actually approached a local company, got hired by them, and then basically helped that company go online. So he was coming to discuss with me every week or so what the company should be doing, going and implementing that. And I think, maybe I shouldn't say this, but he earned himself £2,000 a month for the period he was studying doing that.
Okay, thanks, Jay, for sharing that. I think that you've also answered another common question that I get whenever I speak to Indonesian students, and the question is that they will always ask, "Is there an internship when I join this course?" And you've already shared about how actually it's maybe not an internship, but you get a lot of professional experience. That there are possibilities for that to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, internship, for example, if you've got to start a business. So another example was an Indian student who started coming to pitch ideas to me early on in about December after he started the course in October. And he would come along, pitch ideas, and I would kind of say, no, that's not very good. I'd expect you to come with better ideas, all of that. But he kept persisting, And by the end of the year, he'd developed an idea for a new way of home heating. He was very kind of interested in sustainability. And so after he finished, at that time, he applied for and got supported by Warwick entrepreneurs. And basically, since then, we've carried on with him, developing the idea. We found a group of care homes and the owner of a group of care homes where he could implement and test his heating panels that he devised. And that business is sort of going on and on. With coronavirus, he's kind of stuck in India, but he's managed to find a whole bunch of partners, and he's producing these systems, and they're being tested in hospitals in India now. So we carry on supporting the students if they want, really, for as long as they need. So, I mean, if Ivy wants to come and talk about her drinks business, then we're happy to carry on and advise her. Remember, the UK visa situation is changing as well soon. Kathy can probably sort of give you more details, but in essence, students coming along from this next year onwards will be allowed to stay and work in the UK for 2 years.
Thanks, Jay. I think, you just demonstrated the point that I was trying to make, that Warwick is a community, right? That people, they stay in touch with one another, they keep in touch with their professors, they keep in touch with their friends, and that leads on to other opportunities later on. I've got a question for Mairi. Mairi, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience, teaching students under the COVID pandemic? Because quite a few of the students, they're a bit worried whether or not the quality of their experience may be compromised if, for example, there's a lockdown, or how WMG has moved on to sort of online teaching and the hybrid model when there is no lockdown. Could you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, okay. I mean, I certainly could. I've certainly got views about this. And, Warwick, the reason we're here, the reason we've got WMG is not so that I can teach, it's so that students can learn. That's why we exist. So our role is to enable that learning process, and to pretend that coming to my classroom was the singular most important and the only area that learning would take place is just not true. It's just not true. So I love technology has just freed us up from all the constraints, so many constraints norms that we put in place that we don't need to. We don't need to. So if it's about people's working patterns, they're hugely different. But education is one of the spaces where having this challenge, this massive shock to the system that says, do you know what? You don't have to have 30 people sat in a room and me up the front telling people what they should know for learning to happen. To have that shock to the system has just given such it has just given such a positive opportunity to develop exciting new learning experiences and for students to go on that journey. So we had already, established the flipped classroom. We had established simulations, experiences. We have learning taking place outside in group work, inside in group work. We already had been recognized that learning was the reason we were there, and that needs to be exciting, compelling, engaging, supported. And we knew all this before, and we were kind of experimenting with how we can do it as well as we possibly can. And then having the shock of the pandemic, and obviously it was not a crisis for everybody. And education, we had already been discussing what opportunities we should be taking to enrich the learning experience, to enrich the development of the community. And now we're in a position to enact those. So, I mean, the first term, Jay was talking about what he did with his class in the first term, having businesses to report back to on a weekly basis. We should be, that was just so nice. It was so exciting and different and risk-taking to do that, but engaging and learning. And for myself, developing these online blended classes, we developed them before lockdown. And so we've been delivering these kind of innovative ways of teaching prior to lockdown. And I will say that one thing I really miss is being in the same space as my students. I miss it. I miss it. I do think that the bits that have improved are my ability to, my ability just to have one-on-one supervisions. I don't have to book a room. I don't have to worry about availability. I can just say, right, I'm going to meet you now. So my working hours are way more flexible. I can meet many more students in a daily basis because I can just say, well, I'm going to have maybe not 8 hours of meetings, but I'm going to have 4 hours of meetings, and I can just see one student after the other individually or in a group. So the tools, the technology, there's so many opportunities. And there is that little bit of, I just miss that social space. And I can't wait for that to come back. And that is irreplaceable. There's an element of that that's irreplaceable by digital. But the opportunities and the advantages of developing fuller, richer digital experiences, and they've come to us, and we've engaged with it, and I think there's some, I think some of the stuff is without a doubt, on the whole, it's better, so I want to see them, but it's still good.
All right. Thanks, Mairi. I think you also touched on a very important point about the how the learning philosophy, how Warwick encourages students to learn, and you talk about how it's not just like teaching, but it's just the process of learning. Maybe at this point, I would like to ask Ivy to tell us maybe a bit more like how do you find the difference in terms of teaching when you were studying in Indonesia, when you were doing your maybe undergraduate versus studying in the UK? Did you find any big differences, Ivy?
Okay, to be honest, my bachelor was in Holland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I might say it's pretty different. I mean, like living in Holland for like 4 or 5 years and living in the UK, I might say I like the UK very much. I mean, like people are nice. The food wasn't so nice though. So, but anyway, but I think in terms of the philosophy, in terms of like the attitude of learning, it's so different. I mean, it's the same European countries or like the Western countries, but I would say the UK has really built on my philosophy of thinking, and I think that's very important because in order to innovate, it's not just making for more profits, but it's to actually make the change. And I think the philosophy behind it, I mean, the UK, the English people, the British people get it really, really, really right on that. And one more thing, my dissertation, my research was on social entrepreneurship, and I think it's really embedded in the British culture of the social entrepreneurship. And I really glad that I did my master in the UK because it's really enriched my like it becomes my true north when I'm thinking about it.
Okay, thanks so much for that answer. And it's interesting to hear you compare, UK with another European country. That's interesting as well. Right. Okay. So I see that we are now sorry, I'm in Singapore. So it's 8:03 in Indonesia. Pak Hendra, do we have maybe 2-3 more minutes to take one last question?
Feel free to use the Zoom, Pak. Let's go.
Okay, so because I saw somebody raise their hand, Aulia. I think Aulia raised her hand just now. Does Aulia want to ask something? Okay. No, I guess not. All right. Okay, so in that case, since there are no more questions, Kathy, would you like to take the last bit about the next the next steps?
Yeah, sure. I just did see something from Lena, if she's still here as well, about whether innovation should be adjusted to current trends or whether we have to make innovations that become a trend, which I would say is related to, disruption, really. Do you want to say a few words on that, Jay? Because I think that's quite pertinent for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when you're trying to develop ideas for startup businesses or you're trying to redesign your existing business to be more successful, one of the most important factors, it's more important than the technology you use or how smart you are or whatever. You can be pretty dumb, but as long as you launch your business into a growing market, then you have a higher chance of success. You can even be not very good as a business, but if it's a growing market, then customers are coming to you. And that's where the trends thing comes in, because trends are telling you what are growing markets. So for an entrepreneur, it's really quite important to understand trends and to the implications of trends. So I think there's a relationship between observing trends and thinking about the implications of trends and also launching a successful business. So my first advice is always, in my way of checking how good an idea might be or not, is to say, which trends does it align with? That I think is one of the most important factors for success. Yes, you can make money from reverse. It's a bit like, we've actually had people starting businesses with old music, vinyl records. And last year we actually had a student who wanted to reverse the trend and do a project. His business was around cassette tapes. It may sound foolish, but actually both cassette tapes and vinyl records are growing markets at the moment. In the last year in the UK, there was like record sales. So it's a trend. And if you want to launch a successful business, one way of trying to reduce the risk is to align with some good trends. I don't know if that's kind of answered the question, but trends are incredibly important, and understanding and appreciating what they might lead to increases your chances of success. So for Ivy, if you're thinking about drinks, you need to think about what kinds of drinks are really trending at the moment. We had a student 2 years ago who wanted to launch a cosmetic brand for her own family business. And again, what we said, what are the trends in cosmetics? And as a result, one of the things we identified was that men's cosmetics is growing much, much faster than women's cosmetics. So she aligned the design of her cosmetic for men. And it's particularly growing, it's particularly growing fast in Europe at the moment. Men are spending a lot more on cosmetics than they used to. So there is a relationship. And that's why I was saying earlier on, this kind of broad understanding, this wider knowledge is actually more important than specific in-depth knowledge. It's a different kind of education that you need to be a successful entrepreneur.
Thanks, Jay. And there was just one other question I think that I could see. I think that, well, two that were very much on the same sort of line. One about whether IAE is going to help him or help them grow their business, and the other about whether you'd be able to give direction and help them franchise their business.
Yeah, I mean, we can sort of help and give direction on so both of those areas and a wide range of those areas. Franchising is kind of one way of helping grow a business. But first of all, you have to prove that the original concept works well and that there's value in other people. So I think of it as just another customer segment. So first of all, before you can franchise everything, you've got to develop it as a successful business. You've got to design really good processes, really clear product market fit and all of that stuff. And only then does it become a possibility to franchise. And that becomes part of your growth strategy. It may well be there's a number of ways you can grow your business, you know, licensing, franchising, a range of different mechanisms. Before we would say we'd help somebody franchise their business, we'd want to explore all the mechanisms for growth, not just franchising.
Perfect, thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody's attention today. I know it's been quite a long session. I think it's been really informative, and I hope that you've gained a lot from it. And I hope that it's been sort of got you thinking about what you want to do, and it's fulfilled your expectations. There was just one point about applying for the course without having a business idea, and that's absolutely valid. It's very important, though, if you're applying for the course and you haven't got a business idea that you'll be discussing, that as part of your statement of purpose, you acknowledge that, and acknowledge and understand and demonstrate to the admissions coordinators that you understand that this course is about establishing your business and that you're in the process of looking at business ideas. Because if you are, because we need to, when we're looking at applications, we're really looking for the best fit of course for the individual that applies. And if you don't talk about your interest or desire or focus on wishing to take that business forward or identify the right ideas for you, then we wouldn't invite you to take up a place on the course. It's just important that your application aligns with the principles and the objectives of the course. I know that we've had quite a few questions about scholarships as well, and wanted to let you know that we do have scholarships within the WMG department. We work very closely with Chevening, and we've had a lot of Chevening scholars over the last few years, and particularly quite a lot from Indonesia, several every year. I think Ivy was one of 3 or 4 students from Indonesia in your year group, if that's right, Ivy. But so absolutely fantastic students. We've had such a great bunch of Indonesian students really over the last several academic years that yeah, really phenomenal. But as well as the Chevening Scholarship, which obviously is a very involved application process that you have to start at least well over a year ahead of when you're going to be starting your master's programme. We have Wmg Excellence Scholarships, and these are merit-based scholarships, and we invite you to apply after you've received your offer. We do that on a rolling basis, so we're assessing those every month, but they are competitive. We have, well, actually this year we're going to be awarding nearly £1 million worth of scholarships, and we have around 70 scholarships that we'll be able to award. Those will range from 10% tuition fee discount all the way to 50% tuition fee discount, but it is still a big financial burden. So you do have to have the rest of that money to support you. We don't give full scholarships from the department or from the university, and we don't give stipends. So it is a discount on your tuition fees that we will potentially give you as a department to reduce that financial burden somewhat. And I just want to, I'm just going to share one slide really, so to show you how to continue engaging with us and connect with us, because we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to stay in touch with you. We'd love your comments to know whether this has been useful. We have live chats on a weekly basis. We're happy to have a video meeting or a WhatsApp chat, and that goes for myself and my colleagues in the recruitment team. I know the team in IBEC are always on hand as well, and Imran, and I think you all know Imran, and Imran's shared his email address, but it's just here as well on the final slide if you want to connect again directly with Imran. I think it's shared in the chat as well, isn't it, Imran?
Yes. Kathy, could you just blow up the slide a bit more or put it in presentation mode, because now it's a bit small and it's a bit difficult.
Sorry. Whoops.
Like, yeah, slideshow maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
I think Imran's also just put into the chat about your Warwick to sign up for newsletters, receive updates, hear about upcoming events. So do register on that, and then we'll be able to continuously communicate with you. We don't send too much stuff, but it's really nice to hear a little bit more from the university. Really, we just really like to know a little bit more about your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And we hope that you would want to join us and study at Warwick. So please do explore the WMG website. You'll find more detailed course information on both of these courses, and also links to videos, and you'll see a video from Mairi and from Jay, and more about the modules and the course structure and the content and things. Applications are open. They're open now, and they will be open until the end of July. But obviously we recommend much earlier application than that if you're looking to study with us in October this year. And the team at IBAC will be able to support with any application questions or the process or queries that you might have. Okay, so I think that's it from me. I'll just go back just to that and leave you on this slide so that if there's any details that you want to take down. So this is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Monday, same sort of time as we've been here today, for live chat. And if you wanted to connect with Mairi or Jay, I'm sure they'd be happy as well, but you can do that through me. So if you want to email WMG Masters, my name Kathy Fawcett, you can email c.r.fawcett, and we'll be obliged. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have lots more Indonesian students joining us next year in WMG.
Okay.
Thank you for organising this, Imran. It's great to see so many.
Thank you to the team from me as well. It's always, it's really interesting to kind of, I think, just discuss, and that's why I think one of the things we wanted to do here was to just have a more open discussion in the sessions, and I'm grateful for you to giving me an opportunity to talk.
Thank you to the WMG academics. We really loved having you speak to the Indonesian students. I think that was really quite a rare opportunity, and yeah, it was really, really helpful.
Thank you, and special thanks to Ivy. It was a really it was a surprise, but a very pleasant surprise to see you.
Good to see you too, Jay.
Yeah, and if you do want to talk about your drinks business, then get in contact.
Sure, I'll email you.
Okay.
And the last thanks to the IBEC team for working so hard on getting this event going and getting registrations. So thank you so much to the IBEC team. They are our representatives in Indonesia. So please feel free to get in touch with them if you want to have a contact within Indonesia. If you feel more comfortable speaking in Bahasa Indonesia, IBEC is they are the people to go to give you the advice you need.
Thank you so much, everyone. Terima kasih Mbak Ivy, alumninya Warwick. Senang sekali mendengar ceritanya. Pak Imran, terima kasih. Senang berjumpa walaupun melalui layar, Pak. Hopefully we will see each other very soon.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Jay, Katie, and Mairi, thank you so much for sharing today. It was very nice. Plenty of knowledge to be shared, and I hope everyone has enjoyed as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. And on our side, we're going to sleep now, probably.
Good evening. Good night.
Right, see you, everyone.
Okay,
bye,
bye.
Bye,
Bye, Ivy. So nice to see you. See you, Diane. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Ivy. Bye-bye.